Are you a boba fanatic and want to make your own at-home boba station? Well, right now, Amazon is doing the Black Friday slash Cyber Monday. I mean, they're both one and the same at this point. So today what we're going to do is that we're going to go and peruse everything online and grab the best deals that we can and make your own at-home boba station. What's up, Boba Gang? Welcome back. For those that are new to the channel, my name is Brandon. What's up? I'm a bobaista at a little boba shop down in Virginia. And today what we're going to do is that we're going to go on Amazon and look for, like a lot of things that we could do to start a home boba station. So excited. I want to say that everything I show here is not sponsored and there's no affiliate links for them. It's just to get you started in having your own boba station. We're basically going to cover three things in this video. One is your toppings. Second is going to be your drink base. And the last one will be the equipment that you may or may not need for this. With a boba station, you could have your own dedicated one, but if you already have a coffee station, you could just intermingle them and be able to use some of the items that we have listed for the boba station with your existing coffee station. Or if you have your own bar, you could definitely mix that as well. In either case, a lot of things that we're going to cover here is going to be interchangeable for the most part, and items that you could just add on top. Everything that is, of course, not a necessity. It's just a nice to have or something. All right. So the first thing we're covering is going to be the topping station. All right. For your toppings. So of course you could have jelly, you could have tapioca pearls, you could have popping boba, or you could have, egg pudding, whatever it is you want for that. So the one I want to start with first would be how you can make your boba. For this one, it could be simple. You don't need to have a fancy gadget. If you already have a pot and a colander or a strainer or something, that's perfectly fine. Start with that. But if you're one of my extra people out there, you could go and get a boba cooker. With the boba cooker, for these, there's a lot of generic brands out there, and basically it does exactly what it says. It makes the boba. Some of these are just only making tapioca pearls, and some of them are able to add taro or red beans, mung beans, and stuff like that in there to be able to cook them, or even tofu. So these are pretty cool. You could get them in various sizes. The one that we're looking at is a 5 liter from Joy. Basically for this one, it has a few different settings in here. Of course, you can keep it warm, it'll cook, all that stuff. Besides getting the cooker, the next thing you're gonna need will be tapioca pearls. So for this one, we could go and get flanel, I think is how they say it. Basically it's a 2-pound bag, and for that one, it's just tapioca pearls. Make sure you have something to sweeten it with. So for this one, we're not gonna cover what to sweeten it with. You could just use honey or brown sugar, whatever you have. Just make sure it's a nice liquid so that way the boba can seep into it. If you don't want to get tapioca pearls, there's always popping boba, and the one that we're kind of picking today is the Mayday. They have a 3-pack for about 490 grams each, and they have a strawberry, blueberry, and pomegranate. So that basically covers, a nice good portion of flavors out there. And of course, if you do get tapioca pearls, then you'll probably want to get an airtight storage container. If you have the OX or XO brand that you can get at Walmart or Target, that works perfectly fine. Or if you want to get fancy, you could always get the Fellow Atmos electric vacuum canister. This one, it's gonna be a pretty little penny, but it only holds it holds less than a liter, but it's gonna be really good. Typically it's used for coffee, but of course you can use it for the next subject, which is our tea base or our drink base, and it's gonna be kind of a mixture. You'll see what I'm talking about in a few moments. And of course, last but not least, you get jelly as well. I was gonna cover like egg pudding and stuff like that, but that would just make this video way too long. But you could go back to the original point. You get jelly. The one that I have is the Bole lychee jelly. For me, I really like lychee jelly. Out of all the jellies that are out there, mango is fine, strawberry is fine, but I just kind of prefer lychee. Of course, there are plenty of other brands you get, and at least with this particular brand, you can get this at any Asian grocery store. So if you do end up really loving this, and you ate the entire tub one night just because you were bored and you're watching a movie on Netflix, you could just run to your closest Asian grocery store and pick one up. And if you want to supersize it, you go with brand T-Zone. It's a large container. I would probably use this for when I have a party or something like that, just because it's really big. It's gonna be a lot for you to just try to finish if you're the only one eating it. So next up is gonna be our drink base. So we're gonna be covering 4 areas. One is gonna be some form of black tea. The other one will be a green tea, a Thai tea, and coffee. Yes, back to what I was talking about earlier. We're tying this all back in. If you have a coffee station, this works perfectly fine with it. So, first up would be black tea. So, you have two options here that, it's like kind of like beginner friendly. One would be the Assam black tea, and the other one will be Ceylon. For the Assam black tea, I would say the one from Vicks is good enough. It's like just small enough to where if you weren't vibing with it, you could be finished with it in the first, 2 or 3 drinks that you made. And it's just affordable enough for you to be able to kind of like dip your toes into making milk tea. Now then, one thing I want to emphasize with all of these tea bases is that make sure they are loose leaf. Loose leaf is just vastly superior than anything else. All right, I don't like the tea bags because I feel like a lot of those are not concentrated enough. Not saying that concentrated, but they kind of lost a lot of the flavors in my opinion. They're also pretty bad for the environment because the little plastic things that they're wrapped in, or maybe not plastic, like the paper thing. Anyways, a lot of them are pretty bad for the environment. They have a lot of chemicals in there and they kind of sit in your body. So I always opt for the loose leaf one. They just taste better to me, and then you could adjust the measurements a little bit more fine-tuned compared to a tea bag, because you're like, oh, I gotta do 4 tea bags. Well, okay, cool, that'll be at this amount of grams, but when you do loose leaf, you could go exactly how much you want to do. Next one that I would recommend is the Ahmed Ceylon. For this one, I think this is just a good enough brand. There's another option you could use if you don't like the strong, bold taste that Assam gives. The last one would be Earl Grey. Honestly, a lot of people, when they have a kind of like a tea at their house, like a little tea package, they already have Earl Grey. So I'm not really gonna recommend Earl Grey per se. It does give a floral one, but there's no specific one I would say go get this one. Just use the one you have, because you got practice making boba a lot. So the next one we're going to touch on will be jasmine green tea, tea fonte. For this one, it should be good enough for you to be able to use for any of the tea combinations you want. And luckily, this is the one's already in a canister. I believe this one's pretty tight closed, so you don't have to go use one of those airtight canisters, unless if you really want to. And sticking with green tea. So the next one we're going to be touch on will be matcha related items. So with matcha, there are 3 different styles or 3 different grades. It's a long story that I'll touch on for this one. But basically with matcha, there's 3 primary things you want to keep in mind: ceremonial, culinary, and latte. Now then, with these 3, I would say the culinary one, you're not really using it for drinks, you're using it to bake something. If you have ever tried to make matcha cookies, if you try use the matcha from like ceremonial, it gets kind of lost in the dough because it's not as strong. And I can't remember how they make a lot of the matcha, but basically each one is kind of like a different mixture that will bring out the flavor of it. So the easiest and most cost efficient one I recommend, especially if you're just getting started and making matcha at home, will be the matcha latte. This is the one that's like deemed a little bit more palatable compared to ceremonial matcha. So most people are going to be doing boba. They're already going to want to mix it with a milk typically. So this is just the easiest one. Typically a lot of the matcha powders for matcha lattes are already mixed with non-dairy creamer, so you could just add whatever type of milk you want on top of it. For this one, I would recommend the jade leaf. It's just something affordable and something that you could just mix at home. Now, if you want something of ceremonial grade, then you can always get the gnocchi. That one would be a pretty good starter for y'all. Now then, as I mentioned, this is ceremonial matcha, so it's gonna have a much more bitter, earthier taste compared to a matcha latte. If you haven't had that before, this would be a good starter one. It's a lot of matcha, since they come in small packs, it's just a good thing for you kind of like taste, and if you're not vibing with it, at least you have just a little bit more to like drink out of it. And of course this one, if you're going to get the ceremonial, you might as well go ahead and get bamboo and a sieve. Bamboo whisk and a sieve. Alright, next on the list is Thai tea. So this is a brand that I've been using for a good chunk of my life, is the Pan Thai. It's a good starter because this one is technically a green tea that they soaked in the food coloring and all the other flavors that they do for this one. So this is a good starter one. Traditionally speaking, Thai tea should be made with black tea, with some form of black tea. A lot of them, they don't disclose which tea leaves that they use, but typically Thai tea should be used with black tea. However, with the Pan Thai, they use green tea for that one. And it's not to be confused with Thai green tea that basically looks kind of like a matcha tea. This next part ties back into what we were talking about for the coffee station. So if you already have an existing coffee station, or if you don't, you can always just kind of like slowly build one out. I would say, if you have a mocha pot, a pour over, a French press, those basic tools, or if you have an espresso maker, by all means. The one that I'm going to recommend would be the Café du Monde. This is something that I've been drinking since I was a kid. Not really a kid, but like in my early 20s. It's something that I love with Vietnamese iced coffee, and something that, a lot of Vietnamese households had used in the past when they make café soda. This one I would definitely recommend using it for the more manual kind of coffee, so pour overs or using traditional theme also works, and of course mocha pots. This would be something I would recommend. Another one that I also really love to use was the Cafe Bustelo. These are great ground coffee. Now then, this one technically says espresso ground coffee, but it's not espresso level. If you were trying to put this in your Breville espresso maker or your Flair, it's not gonna work as well as you're hoping for. All right, this next one's optional. By all means, you don't really need this one, and it'll be a gooseneck kettle. If you already went down the rabbit hole of wanting to build your own coffee station, then this gooseneck kettle is a fantastic one that you can add to your station. And when it comes to, let's say, making the tea base for the black tea, green tea, or whatever, you could definitely use a gooseneck. I wouldn't use this one too much when it comes to Thai tea, unless you're gonna just let the Thai tea seep into the water. But this one is a great option. Now then, but this one is less than 1 liter, so you'll definitely have to pour over a few times. But this is one of those ones where it's like, yeah, it does fantastic for, small batches, but doesn't do great on large batches. But that's a different story. You're doing this for yourself, and we're just gonna start small. All right, so maybe you're going down the green tea path, and green tea, the best part for this one is that you have so much flexibility of what you want to do with this one. You can make it any flavor, you can mix it with whatever topping you want. You can do so many things with this. I would recommend getting a variety pack. So the one I would recommend would be Toriani, just because that's readily available, and you could get a lot more flavors for that one. So for this specific one I picked, Summer Pack right here that has the little nozzle on the top, so that we could press down and shoot them out a little bit quicker. With this one you get blueberry, cherry, peach, raspberry, strawberry, and orange. So this one to me is a nice variety for summer flavors. Of course, you get the other ones that are like mint, lavender, and all that, but it's just something to start off on. All right, the next tool you may want to include into your set will be the little jiggities. Technically, the name of it is jigger, but I don't like that name. It obviously sounds too close to another thing we most likely frown upon in society. I say most likely because there's some of y'all that are trifling out there. You can get a basic one where it's like a little 2-set, or you could bowl out and get a nice little gold one like this Japanese bartending one. Basically, with a lot of the jiggities, there's 2 sides. Some of them are just strictly that one specific size, and others have little lines on the inside for you to know how much you're pouring in there. If you've been doing it like for a while now, you basically already know how much you should be pouring into each one. But this gold jiggity, I think it's cute and gorgeous. And now then, to be clear for this one, this is going to be in metric rather than imperial, but if you need imperial one, there's this one over here that you could definitely get that has ounces and stuff like that. Now then, after you measure all the ingredients, you need to put in something to give it a nice little shaky shake. All right, and so we have this boba cocktail shaker. They use the word cocktail, but I mean, technically it is, but it's not what you'll see at the bartending stations typically. This is a nice 2-piece one that has a cap, the lid. You plop it all together into the cup and then shake it. And with this one, it comes in a variety of sizes. You get 24 ounce, 17 ounce, and 35 ounce. I don't really know anyone that's going to use a 35 ounce, but that is an option. Let's say you do want to go down the nice cocktail path of things, rather than getting individual items, because one of the other things I was going to recommend is like the little bar spoon that has a little spiral on it. You get a nice little kit. This one's from Ketsunyu, and this one will already come with the shake cup, the strainer, tongs, the little syrup nozzle thing. Jiggity, they only have one size, but it's fine. They'll give you a little stem thing so that you're able to muddle your drinks. And straws, okay? So this is a good one if you just want to get one thing and not have individual items. It's perfectly fine. It's a nice little kit for you to grab. And it comes with a cute little stand too. If you want to have a little more variety in, let's say, the drink cups, you can get a Boston cocktail shaker. And it will come with 3 jiggies and a strainer. And you'll just probably grab spoons on the side, you know, the other spoons. So this one's also a good option that you could just get. So you could do a couple drinks back to back to back if you're making for, you know, a small group of people. The next one, this is of course not a necessity, but it's just really fun to do. And that's getting reusable metal straws. Get a nice little pack and make sure that there's a puncture on it. So that way, not only do you use it at home, but if you go out to, you know, a boba cafe, that you could reuse this the straw there. Of course, you can use a smoothie straw. That's perfectly fine. However, I recommend getting the one with the tip on it, just so that way you can use it at other shops. You know, even though you're making your boba shop or your at-home boba station, you can still have one for that. And if you really want to be fancy, you could always get this reusable boba cup that comes with a straw, a pouch, and of course, the cup itself, and just carry around flaunt and say, hey, looky, I made boba at home. Look at me. Step up my game. I'm kidding, of course. Or am I? Is that you? I mean, it's you, no shame in it whatsoever. So these are a lot of the items I would recommend when you're starting a boba station. Now that I did do a quick Google search just to see what a at-home boba station could possibly look like, and I was so sad to see there are not many photos for that. But when I Google coffee station or a bar, at-home bar, there's so many photos for that. So I think we should go ahead and change that and make a home boba station. Do you have your own at-home boba station that you want to share? You know, just shoot me a DM at my Instagram. I'll add it somewhere on the screen. You know, just share photos of what your at-home boba station looks like. If it's mixing with a coffee station, that's perfectly fine. If it's mixing with your, you know, bar, that's perfectly fine. Or if you have a smoothie station, whatever you may have, that's perfectly fine. Because boba could be with any and everything. Did you find this video helpful? Is there anything y'all gonna grab from this? You know, just let me know down below. All right, peace.